We're live.
We are live. Today is Thursday, February 11th, and this is our weekly development check-in for Backdrop CMS. Before we get into the agenda, we'll go around and do some quick introductions. You'll have to say what your name is and where you're from. If you want to share something else with us, you definitely can. My name is Jen Lampton. I am joining from Oakland, California, and I have so much Backdrop work going on right now. It is so exciting. It makes me very happy. So thank you, Backdrop. And I will turn it over to Nate.
Hello, I'm Nate Lampton, also from Oakland, California. And I haven't been able to do a lot of Backdrop work recently, but I'm excited to see, during these weekly meetings, what's been happening. So we'll be running through the normal product updates today. Let's go to Jason, if you would.
Hi, I'm Jason Flatt from Las Vegas, Nevada. Backend developer. I'm mostly here just to hang out with the people. Tim.
Tim Erickson from Deerwood, Minnesota, where it's minus 20 degrees Celsius. And here to, get caught up on what's going on in court. A lot of activity in the contrib issue queue and looking forward to it. Olaf, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm Olaf from Hamburg in Germany. We have also minus degrees here and a bit of snow. And I'm checking in after a longer time to hear what's going on. Next one, W. Painter.
Peter from Australia. Just had a baby last week, so I'm taking a bit of a break from Backdrop stuff, but currently at the playground with my daughter, waiting for my car to get serviced. I thought I'd just hang out here and listen to what's happening in Backdrop, what I'm missing out on. So, whoever hasn't gone, Joseph or Jason.
I think I'm the last one. So, hi, I'm Joseph Flatt from Las Vegas, Nevada. Backend developer. That's it. I think I'm the last person.
Since last week, we've had 2 new applications for people to join Backdrop Contrib, and that's really exciting. Let's see. Jay Sitter, whose name I don't know, ported the JSON Web. No, this isn't even important. Wrote a new module called JSON Web Tokens specifically for Backdrop, which is pretty cool, and wants to contribute it. And that module looks like it's almost ready. It needs a maintainer section in the README file, and he'll get an application. So that's really great. And Large Designs, Justin, who's usually here for our weekly meeting, also ported a module last week, submitted an application, and has been invited. So we've got 2 new people this week, which is really exciting. In terms of releases this week, last week, Tim asked me to look at the Biblio module. I made a first release. It doesn't include an upgrade path or any of the sub modules, but there is an issue in the queue asking which, if any of the sub modules are needed. I didn't need any of them for my project, but I expect there are plenty of other people who do. So that will be what I will be working on next, but there is a 1.0.0 release out that will work without breaking anything, thanks to the feedback from people in the queue. So that's good. No other new modules since last week, but there's been a handful of releases. Backdrop cms.org. Looks like we have a request to discuss the more data and info files issue. So this one last week, I think, Nate, we talked to you about how to test. Doc Wilmot said he'd already done that testing before asking for the information. And so I think it's ready for a code review and potentially merge. So I think, I don't know if Nate, I think you're the maintainer for project module. I might also be maintainer for it, but it would be good to get your eyes on it either way.
Yeah, this isn't even project module. This is the custom code that's in the packager that just takes the values from the .info file and looks like it uses an existing field on backdropcms.org to populate the values.
Okay, so it's just on backdropcms.org then? Okay.
And it looks like, right now we don't allow anyone, like having an account on backdropcms.org gives you pretty limited capabilities. Like you can create blog posts. That's the primary thing you can do with an account. But we don't allow normal users to edit projects on backdropcms.org. So this is a way of making it so that you can effectively edit the project node to do things like assign colors to a theme without doing anything on backdropcms.org. You'll create new values in your info files, and when you make a new release of your theme or your module, it will update associated fields on the node on backdropcms.org. And then in theory, we can start using those things to start filtering and sorting things when you do a module or theme search. So it looks like this isn't really independently testable any further. And
Is there any downside to merging it, deploying it, and testing it in production?
No, I think that's basically the next step at this point. Yeah.
Well, if you could eyeball it and just make sure that nothing looks dangerous, I'll be happy to do the merge deploy part.
Okay. And then we need to do a test of some kind, like creating a new theme.
I think Dr. Want's been testing with UberCart module. But I don't know. I'm now not sure if this is that same issue I'm thinking of, but yeah, we should figure out what's good to test with. But
yeah, I guess maybe also documenting a little bit further. Like I'm not quite sure where the documentation would go for these additional properties that we have. Looks like he supports colors on themes and maintainers on modules, which both seem like really helpful things.
So I also, just in case anyone's wondering about this, I sent an email to our lawyers at SF Conservancy asking about this maintainers thing, because there's another issue where we wanted to put a list of all the projects people are involved with on their user profile on backdropcms.org. And I was really worried that because Backdrop is like the source of information on Backdrop, we could be held liable for information people put on their profile page that is not correct. So like if I logged in and put like Nate's GitHub name in my user profile, I would get the work of all of his work on Backdrop showing up on my user profile. So it'd be a really easy way for somebody to like fake a profile page saying they have a lot of work with Backdrop, send it to a potential employer, get hired, not be qualified, and the employer would say, well, I looked at your profile page, but it's not real information, it's all user submitted information. And we got a reply back from the lawyer saying that as long as we put a disclaimer above that list that's like, all information on this page is provided by the person who created the page, or I forget the legalese or whatever, then it sort of gives us an out. In that case, it's like they, should have read that paragraph, and it puts us in the clear. This is only related in the sense that whoever is maintaining a module can put a GitHub username in here that is not their own. I don't know that that is very likely, because in this case, the person who's maintaining the module is on GitHub using their user account. So I don't know what the incentive would be to not do it, but it does open up another potential risk there, where we could be like accidentally granting one person access to projects that if they don't, I mean, right now we aren't granting people access to modules based on their GitHub username, but we did talk about doing that in the future. So just
could we could make, is it a field?
Yes.
So we could make it unique, and then you couldn't take someone else's username if they were already had an account.
So on the module maintainer field, one person can maintain a bunch of different modules. So that one can't be unique. Yeah. On the user profile page, it can be, which might be another good place to do it. We also have long-term plans to implement OAuth with GitHub, which would resolve all of this. So I think most of the concerns here are sort of temporary anyway. I just wanted to make sure we didn't fall into legal loopholes. Should be fine.
Yeah, but that looks really exciting. That would be great to add some new capabilities to backdropcms.org projects. Okay. Next up, we have the doc site too, that also has been receiving a lot of changes. I haven't been tracking this too closely. We have a new website, docs.backdropcms.org, which is a renamed version of the API site Jen, you look like you're ready to say some things about it, so I'll pass it to you.
I'm just excited because BW Panda and I have been strategizing on an issue about how to import all of the content from the current backdropcms.org site that we want moved into the new documentation section. And it sounds like we have a pretty good start on that. So as long as Peter continues to tell me what he wants, I'm happy to set up a feeds integration that will pull over content maybe once every 12 hours or 24 hours or something like that. So that if people are making changes to the documentation on the live site before we're ready to go with the new documentation on the doc site, we'll get all of those updates and we won't have to worry about getting out of sync.
And I'd like to hear, although I think I know that, is the plan to move the user documentation over here as well? Like
Yeah.
how to use Backdrop, even if you're not a developer?
Yeah. So there's a little back and forth on that, but it sounds like everybody wants to try something new. And so even though like we deliberately decided initially to put it on the main website, if we don't think that's working, I'm totally fine to try something new. Just to make sure everybody knew that like originally that was a specific content architecture decision or whatever, content strategy decision. But maybe it's not working. So let's try something else for a while, see how that goes.
Okay, well, I guess next up is my section that I normally handle, the progress report for the project, unless there's any other website related news.
One quick question. I know there's an issue out there for kind of an OAuth to be able to log into one site and it passes across all the sites. I know that from my understanding, it was turned on, something didn't work right, so it was shut off. I guess I'd like to kind of bring some attention back to that. That is, you know, we've got forums, we've got the API, we've got the docs, got the main website. It is getting a little frustrating to create new user accounts for every single site. So just kind of throwing that one out there.
Yeah, and it's gonna get worse with the event site. Yeah, so there is a module that we ported from Drupal called Bakery because it makes cookies that would allow people to log into any other site using their credentials from backdropcms.org. And I originally ported it and thought it was working and put it everywhere. And it turns out that it didn't not work, but it was like not working sometimes, which made it really hard to diagnose the problem. And so we just had to turn it off until we could figure out exactly what the problem was, and we haven't gone back to it. So maybe it would be good to turn it on some site that not very many people are using and use that for debugging rather than turning it on I don't know, something like the forum that people are using all the time, and see if we can sort out any issues in a low risk environment. I would be happy to do that. So Phil, if you want to maybe ping me and Zulip, I would love it if you would help me with testing on that. If you have some availability.
Okay,
That'd be great.
The other thought is maybe, you know, the log in with Google, connect with Facebook. You know, these different account deals that you're starting to see them pop up all over the place. I don't know if maybe that would be a good kind of a short-term solution. It's not going to cover all of the user base, but something of that nature might kind of help alleviate some of this too. So it's a thought.
Yeah. So if we were to take a fresh stab at this, I think that using Bakery, which is what Drupal.org is still using, as I understand it, Bakery was at the time trying to solve a problem that really hadn't been fully solved yet. Now the concept of single sign-on across multiple sites and even multiple domains, which Bakery right now is dependent on everything living under one domain because it shares cookies that are at the root level of the domain, and then it works across subdomains. That's the way that it functions. But this problem has been solved at an industry level through SAML and like OAuth 2. I think those are the technologies that are used. And like GitHub, Facebook, Google, all of these single sign-on providers all now use the same standard for authentication and login that handles logging in across multiple domains where there's only one single place that does the sign in. And I'd like to, if we're going to put in effort, pursue that kind of approach where we're using the industry standard for single sign-on rather than using something that's like homemade, like bakery.
Yeah, we should, if we're gonna do that, we should write down a list of requirements, because the last time I checked, none of them worked with using our user table as the definitive data source. And so if we're gonna move to them, we might end up having a list of other things that we have to do too, like do some kind of like continuous integration between our user system and whatever we're using for single sign-on.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Could we-
SAML and OAuth 2 is the protocol for the way the websites talk to each other. Like how you set up the user store and where the account list is stored. You can do that in a variety of different ways. One of which is potentially making a backdrop site into the single sign-on provider and using the user table. Other options are using like dedicated pieces of software that just handle user accounts. Yeah, or using a service that would hold on to our user accounts for us or something like that. There's lots of different options. So it could be that backdropcms.org, the flagship website, becomes the source of truth for user accounts. It's kind of the way we're rolling right now. Or we could make it a separate site that either does or does not run backdrop, that just holds all the user accounts as its job.
Either way, we're gonna have to write some new integration piece. And I checked a couple months ago on it, and all the stuff that existed for Drupal was only for Drupal 8 and Drupal 9. So it might be so new that no one built it for Drupal 7 yet.
Yeah. So yeah, that it is a big problem. So getting that sorted out. And Phil, you're absolutely right that it's a hassle creating a new account on every single site. And it would be nice if we do have a single sign-on location, then that single sign-on location could also provide different ways of authenticating. So if you wanted to authenticate with GitHub into the single sign-on site, then you would authenticate there. And then from that site, it would authenticate the other sites. So I like that idea, because then we only need to improve our login workflow in one place, and as opposed to every single site. We don't need to have sign in with GitHub on 6 different sites. We have sign into the main site, and then that signs you into all of the other ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that approach.
We have an issue for that. I'm just gonna throw a link into Zulip so we can find it later.
I know it's been in discussion. I guess trying to revive that discussion a little bit, because it's one of those things. Then get taken care of now, it just becomes a bigger mess later as things continue to evolve. So anyway, that's all I got. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, let's go into the project report, of which, yeah, there's some movement happening here. 1.18.2. 1.18.2 is the next bug fix release that we will be releasing as we accrue enough fixes to warrant a release. Let me actually pull this up before I get into the individual issues. Okay, there hasn't been anything merged in or closed into 1.18.2 yet so far. But items that we've got here to prioritize, throw a warning if the max input vars variable is not properly set or not set high enough. Issue 3824. Checked on this. It looks like Jen, you did a reroll on this. It's ready for review again, and it is just sitting there waiting for another set of eyeballs.
Yeah, that needs core committer review, because I'm not sure the current implementation will be acceptable.
Okay. Next up is language names are not translated into their native names, issue 4511. This one is RTBC. It actually was ready for 1.18.1, but we pushed it off because it makes some UI changes. So we're holding off on, or we had been holding off on that, but we probably are good to merge it now. PHP 8 support, issue 4772. Currently needs review and a little bit of work. It looks like what Joseph has done so far makes progress. It gets us past the installer. It makes it so that tests run. The database layer is fixed to work with PHP 8. but there's still some additional problems that IndigoZilla found while testing it. Things like the content listings. There's probably some issues with views that aren't quite working properly. Joseph, do you have anything to add?
That's kind of it. My PHP environment on my laptop is not working at the moment, so that's why I haven't fixed those yet. I need to fix my laptop first.
Yeah, these sorts of changes, I wouldn't be opposed to merging what we have so far and then continuing to iterate on it, because definitely for people, if they want to help contribute to this issue, I think they'll get further if Backdrop is installable and actually functions a little bit and has
Right.
like several issues rather than it just like completely not working at all,
Right.
which is kind of where it is right now.
Cool. Yeah, and I as far as I'm aware, there are no regressions because the tests pass 100% on the older versions. But we can't really run the tests on PHP 8 yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, great work nonetheless on moving that forward, and we really appreciate it. Last one that we have here is a little bit of a complicated issue, but the fix is pretty straightforward. The menu active trail gets confused when the same path is used in menu links from multiple languages, issue 4798. I think this was almost a one-line fix, if I'm thinking about it the right one. However, yeah, pretty much a one-line fix. The steps to reproduce it are kind of complicated, and it's something that could easily regress. And so the holdup on this one is that it needs test coverage.
I looked at this, but because the steps to reproduce are so complicated, like trying to figure out how to write a test to do all of that seemed really hard, especially the like passing a PHP argument into a view. So I'd be open to other people recommending other ways we might be able to test this.
I didn't think that this was a views based. It's just
it's when you use the same path in two menus, and the only way I could get a path, one path with two menu items was to do a contextual filter on a view that was automatically determined by context. And so meetings on my website has, if you're on Spanish, it pulls the current language and translates to Spanish. And if you're on English, it pulls the current language and translates to English. And the URL is the same in both cases. It's just meetings because views is automatically pulling the language from context. So it's the same path. So if anyone else has no other way to make a page with one path that works differently in two languages that doesn't use in like contextual filter in views, let me know. But that was the only way I could reliably reproduce the problem.
Creative view. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is complicated. Okay. Well, those are the items that we have pulled out for the 118.2 priorities. There's a whole bunch of issues in 118.2, though. 77 issues are currently in the 118.2 milestone. 6 of those are RTBC already, so that those several could probably be moved in shortly. 119 is the next minor version. It will be coming out May 15th, 2021 with feature freeze on May 1st. We have 6 items so far pulled out for 119. First one is adding an exposed file name filter to the media library dialog, issue 3293. This one is still stuck. We have a technical problem that needs to be solved here that we're finding challenging to get through. So that one needs some technical expertise to get solved. Adding cache tags and better control over the cache max age header, issue 4127. Joseph is the advocate for this one. Pull request currently needs review. Joseph, any other updates on that issue?
Nothing since last week. I don't know if you saw the video from last week. But essentially, I have tests passing and everything is working as far as I can tell, but I'd like a technical review. I'm pretty sure there's more things I need to clean up and comments and code standard stuff.
Okay. Jen, you're the advocate for the next issue. Field has value visibility condition for layouts, issue 4728.
I have not worked on it in the last week.
Okay. Let's see, I didn't check on this one before the meeting. Add support for relationships to layout contexts, issue 2134. Looks like this is still, I haven't had any activity on it since the rush before 118. The changes required are pretty minimal, mostly around naming conventions still, is I think where we last left that. So Doc Wilmot is the advocate for that. It hasn't been updated in over a month now. So I think if there was an opportunity for another person to come in and make the suggested naming convention changes, I think that would be a good candidate to just give some assistance on. Let's see, we've got Gregory Klonos's issue, merging the update pages, update core module theme and layout pages onto a single page, issue 2714. Currently needs work. Let's see, last updated 17 days ago. Looks like Gregory is still committed to making the necessary changes here. So I think that we're just waiting on him to find some time to continue working on it. And lastly, change the role edit URLs. Edit is in the URL when configuring a user role to configure, issue 4899. BW Panda is the advocate for this, has been RTBC, we believe. And the only problem, whether we fix it now or later, is that the redirects for taking the old deprecated URLs and sending them to the new URLs is they're not fully working, which is a known issue, and we have a separate issue 2833 to handle that. So I think Peter, if you're there, you might be wondering, like, do we need to fix this problem now, or can we merge in the change and then fix the redirects at a later time? Now, I don't really know. I think I'd like to hear from people as to whether or not we think that that's good or not. And in some cases, we went ahead and merged changes without the redirects fully working already. So I think there's precedent for changing the URLs even without the redirects, because like the main landing pages redirect, but the sub pages where you edit an individual role or something like that. I think in the past there might have been menus, for example, that we didn't redirect the edit screens for individual menus.
I feel like if we get the fix in soon, it's fine, but our track record of like merging something and then getting something else in soon is not super great. So I don't know.
Right, like the redirects for menus, you know.
Went in a long time ago.
Yeah, that was like over a year ago. Yeah. On the other hand, also didn't hear
Any complaints?
About the URL changing, because people don't normally deep link to editing an individual menu. They link to the overall menus page or the overall roles list. They don't usually link to an individual role.
And even if they had linked to a deep menu, it would still just take you to the landing page of the, the new page, because it would redirect. So it would probably be fine. It just wouldn't redirect to the edit page or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I go either way on that one.
Okay.
I'd say how about if we don't get it fixed by 119, we merge it anyway.
So the thing that I think we might not be happy about with that is that BW Panda is currently advocating for that, and he can't advocate for anything else until.
Well, no, because the rules, it needs to be in a near complete state, and his issue is RTBC. So that qualifies as being near complete.
That's always been a little bit fuzzy to me.
Right. I am advocating for near complete being our TBC.
All right. Okay. Let's move on from that. Anything else for 119? Tim, you've been collecting your survey of kind of like things that people are interested in. We don't really have any, really solid way of saying, okay, we're going to execute on this other than getting someone to volunteer. So I think that the survey website and the way that we're collecting data is like yet another way of encouraging people to move in a particular direction.
I'd like to talk briefly about that. Like, what do we do with those results? And like, one thing would be last year we had sort of a goal setting meeting, and we could do something like that where we just talk about the results and, get or give people a chance to give feedback or to try and define them. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that keeps coming up towards the top is config recipes, but that's a really vague idea. It's like I would like to advocate for that, but there's so many different routes that could go. I don't even know what I'd be advocating for to start with. So, anyways, so we don't have a way to enforce these survey results, nor was that the intention. But I do think we should do something with them, and I'm looking for ideas. It's like, how do we stimulate discussion about them or move some of them to the next step?
Yeah, I wonder if just having a dedicated non-weekly call where that is the whole thing that we talk about.
Sure. A backdrop live might be an opportunity too.
Oh yeah.
Although,
yeah, that would be really great.
It's a ways off, but I don't know if that's a problem. I think this discussion could possibly wait. It's not that it's not blocking anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this is also a constant problem. It's not just about 119. It's about how we do features for every single release. Yep.
Sure. I'll just say that we've closed. The status of the survey is that you can't add new issues to the survey anymore, but you can still go in and vote. If you haven't voted yet or expressed your preferences yet, you still can, and you can change your preferences. So, and some people have been going back on a regular basis, I've noticed, and although the results haven't changed in the last 4 or 5 days. So,
yep. And that website is survey.backdropcms.org.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, initiatives. We have a couple of initiatives that are broader projects that might span multiple releases. We have the unofficial, it says here, initiative of documentation. Peter, BW Panda, has been taking the lead on that, including the doc site that we mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if Peter is in a position where he can actually give us an update from where he is.
Peter, jump in. I'll try to get that. I'll try to get a vote going on making this official.
Yeah. Well, a few meetings ago it was said that it probably didn't need to be an initiative, but so we just went ahead with it and made the change. And as Jen mentioned before, we're just working on now just migrating the content from the main backdrop site over to the doc site, setting up the redirects, and then after that, I'm not sure if there's an actual plan of what to do, but we'll have a dedicated repo/issue queue for then people to make suggestions about how to improve the documentation further. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, next up, telemetry. Tim, you're the initiative lead on telemetry, collecting more information about the way people are using backdrop so we can better make decisions on things with that data.
Yep. And unfortunately, we don't have an update. The really quick summary that we've heard before is that we have some code. We've done some testing. We kind of need to figure out what the next steps are to get this moving. So.
Great. Yep, feeling that pressure too, because as the one that's also helping along on that one.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Theme development should not be necessary to use backdrop. Luke McCormick is the initiative lead on that. I wasn't in the design meeting before this, but I saw that Luke was. Was there an update on that initiative during the design call?
I can give that quick. We talked about a few related issues, but I think the main development is that Luke has done a bunch of work on a website that is useful for developers, and we're going to schedule a meeting a week from next Tuesday at the time of at noon Pacific time to look closely at the work that's been done on that initiative and to get feedback. And we'd really like to have some other voices come in and give us feedback on the work so far and help define what the next steps are, or how to wrap that initiative up.
Tim.
Yep.
The other times when you had meetings about that topic, you announced it, or Luke, sort of one day before.
Right.
So it was hard to join for me, but I'm interested in the topic, so I can't guarantee that I have time when I know it a week before, but it would be more probable.
Right. Well, that was the purpose. We acknowledged that in the last meeting, and that was the purpose of announcing this one a week and a half in advance. So
okay, thank you very much.
If Olaf, if you're really interested and that time doesn't work for you, let us know now so we can maybe make some adjustments now, because we really would love to get you involved.
When was it?
A week from next Tuesday at 12 o'clock Pacific. I'll post it in Slack or in Zulip in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see then. So
yep.
Generally in this period, it's not so easy for me to join meetings, but I'll have a look.
Let me just make a blanket statement to you and some of our other European participants that we'd really like to get you involved in more meetings. And I've made some attempts to try to schedule it at better times, but to be honest, I don't know what's a good time for you. So if you could let us know in Slack, like what times of the day or weeks are good, we can make a better effort.
Yeah, let's chat there. Okay, thanks.
All right. We don't have anything in the Q&A and general discussion, but if anyone would like to bring up something, oh, excellent. Go ahead, Olaf.
Yeah, it's a little thing, but a bit worrying for me. So I ran, so this is asking for help because I've been running in a problem quite often, but I only posted the issue last week, I think, because I didn't knew how to reproduce the bug, and it's quite annoying, and I think it's also hard to fix. So that's why I'm asking for help. It's issue number 4933, and I can shortly describe. Are you aware of the so-called maximize mode of CK editor? So you can, it's just to enlarge the editing area. And so if you are using this mode and make a bit more complicated editing, and I think images are a factor, then you can't save the node. So it just gets stuck. And and then if you had made a lot of editings, so I know how to handle it, because then it gets stuck and you see all the HTML code and you can copy it. And then I copy it in a text editor. I reload the form and then I paste it in the code mode. And then I can save. But I think for normal people, it's not a good workaround. So Indigo Xela confirmed the bug, but she's not sure how to fix it. And it reminds me the bug where in modal dialogues, we had a problem with saving CK editor content. I think it's a different thing, but however, it's comparable complex to fix with JavaScript and so on. And so I'm looking for people who can help in that issue.
Great. Yeah, thanks for, it sounds like you did manage to find a way to reproduce it. The steps seem pretty clear. Indigo looks like she also confirmed it. So I think that we have what we need. It sounds like possibly a JavaScript error, just like perhaps things out, which if that's the case, we'll probably see something in the console. And I hope that that will give us a lead as to what the problem is.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of quite critical. So I'm wondering why nobody before stumbled into it. And also I'm a bit afraid that my clients do. And so I would really be happy if we could do some progress there.
Yeah, it is like the maximize button is enabled like out of the box. So
Yes.
it's definitely something that people would run into without a whole lot of effort. I'm trying to do it right now and see if I can make it happen.
I think not many people.
I added the issue to the template, so we'll keep talking about it.
Great.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks.
Do you guys have anything else you guys would like to bring up? Okay. We're right up at the top of the hour, and some of us have meetings immediately following this, so let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thank you guys all for joining as always, and we'll catch you guys next week.